Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already so you don't miss any of our future explorations. Today we're going to be taking a deep dive into a fascinating aspect of the Qur'an, divine oaths.
That's right.
These are moments where God swears by something powerful. And you've sent me some really intriguing excerpts about these. And I can't wait to kind of unpack their structure and significance.
Yeah, it's amazing how they function as more than just emphasis.
Yeah.
They're like keys that unlock deeper understandings of God, humanity, even history itself.
Absolutely. And today we're talking about the sun, the moon, figs, olives, even charging horses. Like, what do they all have to do with our lives and destinies?
Right.
It feels almost like a cryptic message waiting to be deciphered.
It's like a treasure hunt within the text itself.
I love it. Okay.
And before we get into specific examples from the Qur'an, let's just talk about oaths more broadly.
Yeah.
You know, the concept of an oath is really deeply rooted in human history and culture.
It really is. I mean, people throughout history have sworn on sacred objects, their loved ones' lives.
Absolutely.
It's serious business.
It is, at its core, an oath is a guarantee that someone is speaking the truth.
Right.
It carries weight because breaking an oath, has always had serious consequences, morally, socially, even legally.
Yeah.
It's a way of saying, I'm staking my reputation on this.
And that makes sense, especially in a context where trust and credibility are paramount.
Exactly. And this was particularly true in pre-Islamic Arabian culture. We actually see in their poetry that oaths were made by invoking things of great value, things that commanded attention.
Right.
Their prized horses, swords, even natural phenomena like the dawn.
So we're already seeing this link between oaths and the natural world.
Yes.
Things that hold deep meaning and resonate with people.
Exactly. And now when we look at the Qur'an, particularly the Meccan surahs, which are some of the earliest revelations, we see these divine oaths being employed very frequently.
Yeah, and they often appear right at the beginning of the surah, as if setting the stage for what's to come.
That's a keen observation.
Thank you.
These oaths have two main components: the object of the oath, which is what God swears by,
Right.
and the complement of the oath, which is the statement or message being emphasized.
So like in Surah 90, where it says, "No, I swear by this city and by the begetter and the begotten, we have certainly created man in toil."
Yes.
The city and the parent-child relationship would be the objects, and the statement about humanity being created in toil is the complement.
That's a perfect example. And what's really fascinating is that scholars like Hamida din Farahi and Bint ash-Shati have interpreted these oaths as going beyond simple emphasis.
Okay.
They argue that there's a deeper layer of meaning embedded within them.
So it's not just about God swearing for dramatic effects.
Right.
It's more nuanced than that.
Exactly. Farahi proposed that the objects of the oath actually act as evidence or signs pointing towards the truth of the complement. Bint ash-Shati took it a step further, suggesting that these objects symbolize more abstract reality.
Right.
Like visual metaphors within a parable.
So they're not just emphasizing a point, but also serving as symbolic representations?
Yes.
And even providing evidence for the truths being revealed.
Precisely. They're bridging the gap between the concrete and the abstract, the physical and the spiritual.
Yeah.
They invite us to contemplate these connections.
This is getting really intriguing. Can we dive into some specific examples to see how this works in practice?
Absolutely. Let's start with a surah that stood out to me, Surah 91, the sun.
Okay.
Which begins with a very powerful oath cluster. By the sun and its morning brightness by the moon, when it follows it by the day, when it displays it by the night, when it veils it.
I'm immediately struck by the contrasting imagery here. The sun and moon, day and night. It's like this cosmic dance of opposites.
And that contrast is key. These pairs symbolize the delicate balance that exists in God's creation. Each element has its designated place and role, and they function in harmony without overstepping their boundaries.
And then the surah expands this imagery, talking about the sky and the earth.
Yeah.
It's like we're zooming out to witness this cosmic order on a grand scale.
Exactly. And then the focus shifts, zooming into the human soul, by the soul, and how he proportioned it, and then he inspired it to recognize its vice and its God consciousness.
So even within us, there's this inherent duality, this balance between our baser desires and our higher aspirations.
You've got it. And that brings us to the complement of the oath, the message being emphasized. The one who has purified it has succeeded, and the one who has corrupted it has lost.
It's fascinating how the structure of the surah itself reflects this balance. It's divided into two equal sections. One focuses on the oath, the other on the story of the Thamud.
That's a perceptive observation. That symmetry reinforces the importance of maintaining balance in our lives, both internally and externally.
And the story of the Thamud, the tribe that was destroyed for their transgressions, feels like a powerful warning. Disrupting this balance has consequences.
Precisely. The Thamud serve as a reminder that there are limits, and exceeding those limits can lead to chaos and destruction, both individually and collectively.
I'm starting to see how these oaths add layers of meaning and invite deeper reflection. Let's explore another example. What about Surah 93, the forenoon?
Okay.
It's fascinating because it deals with a period of uncertainty and anxiety.
Yes. This surah was revealed during a pause in Revelation, which caused some concern among the prophet and his followers.
Yeah.
They feared that God might have abandoned them.
And the surah opens with an oath by the forenoon and the night.
Yes.
It's interesting because the forenoon is associated with activity and brightness, while the night represents stillness and darkness.
And that contrast is key. The surah is offering reassurance, just as night stillness doesn't signify the absence of day. A pause in Revelation isn't an end. It's about the cyclical nature of things.
So it's a reminder that both the natural world and our lives have these cycles of activity and stillness, of ease and hardship.
Exactly. And the surah goes on to say, your Lord has not forsaken you, nor is he displeased. The hereafter is better for you than the present soon your Lord will give to you, and you will be pleased.
Right.
It's a message of comfort and hope amidst uncertainty.
It's a powerful reminder not to despair during periods of darkness or stillness. There's always a new dawn coming.
You've grasped the essence of it.
Thank you.
Are you ready to explore another oath and delve deeper into its significance?
Absolutely. These oaths are like portals to a deeper understanding of the Qur'an. What's next on our journey?
Okay.
This next surah is particularly intriguing to me. Surah 95, the fig and the olive, starts with an oath that feels almost like a riddle. Why would God swear by fruits in a mountain?
That's precisely what makes this oath so captivating. The focus isn't on the literal fig or olive, but rather on their symbolic significance. These elements point to key locations and figures in human history.
It's like a secret code embedded within the text, waiting to be deciphered. I'm ready to unlock this message.
Let's break it down. This secure city refers to Mecca, the city established by Abraham as a sanctuary for worshiping God.
Right, and Mecca is also where Prophet Muhammad received his revelations. It represents a continuity of God's message through different prophets.
Exactly. Next, we encounter Mount Sinai, where God revealed the Torah to Moses, bringing the children of Israel into the narrative and highlighting another significant chapter in the history of Revelation.
And then the olive, which is often interpreted as symbolizing Palestine or, more specifically, Jerusalem, the Holy Land.
Yes, connecting us to Jesus, who preached in Jerusalem and on the Mount of Olives. So we have Abraham, Moses, Jesus. It's like a timeline of God's interaction with humanity encoded in these few words.
That's incredible. It's like watching a panoramic view of salvation history unfold before our eyes, all within a single oath. It challenges the way I typically think about these prophets, seeing them not as isolated figures, but part of a larger interconnected narrative.
And to complete the picture, some scholars interpret the fig as a reference to Mount Judy, where Noah's Ark is believed to have landed.
So we have Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, all these pivotal figures linked through this single oath. It's like seeing a family tree of revelation, but this oath doesn't just provide a historical overview, does it?
You're right. The historical backdrop sets the stage for the surah's core message about human nature. The surah states, we had certainly created the human being in the best mold. Then we reduced him to the lowest of the low, except for those who believe and do righteous deeds. They will have a reward without end.
So the oath highlights our inherent potential for both greatness and corruption. It's a reminder that despite our elevated status in creation, we can also descend to the lowest depths.
Precisely, the fig, the olive, the mountain, they all serve as reminders that God has bestowed upon humanity a remarkable capacity for good, but it's our choices that ultimately determine our path.
These layers of meaning are fascinating. I'm ready for the next surah. What about Surah 100? The Chargers, it sounds action-packed.
Surah 100, the Chargers, certainly starts with a powerful image. By the chargers panting, then igniting sparks as they strike, and then radiant morning, and then stirring up clouds of dust thereby, and then penetrating into the midst collectively.
Charging horses, sparks flying. The imagery is so vivid, it's almost cinematic.
The imagery is striking, but what's fascinating is how this oath, initially centered on the horses, contrasts their loyalty and obedience with human behavior.
So it's more than just a thrilling scene of a horse raid. There's a deeper layer of meaning here.
Absolutely. After this intense buildup, the surah takes a sudden turn. Man is truly ungrateful to his Lord, and to that he is a witness, and he is in his love of wealth intense.
That ending gave me chills. It's almost like those charging horses are foreshadowing a much larger, more significant event. It makes you wonder, are we all just racing towards our own day of judgment? And if those horses are so devoted to their masters, shouldn't we be even more grateful to our Creator?
Precisely. The oath, which began with earthly imagery, transcends into a cosmic scene, prompting us to reflect on our own gratitude and devotion.
The way these oaths weave together different layers of meaning is simply incredible. Are we ready for our final example?
Absolutely. Let's explore a surah that delves into the very essence of our existence.
Okay, this last surah we're going to look at is one that many of us might know by heart. But it's amazing how much depth can be found in even the shortest surahs. Surah 103, the passing time.
It's a surah that stays with you, short, profound, and starting with that simple oath, by the passing time.
And the word used here, Al-Asr, it's often translated as just time. But you mentioned it carries a deeper meaning, a sense of urgency.
That's right. Al-Asr refers specifically to time that's slipping away, time we can't reclaim. It comes from a root meaning to squeeze or to press, almost like time itself is this precious resource under constant pressure.
It serves as a powerful reminder that our time in this world is finite, urging us to make the most of it.
Exactly, and that urgency is heightened by what follows. Truly, man is in a state of loss, except for those who believe and do righteous deeds and exhort one another to truth and exhort one another to patience.
It's a stark wake-up call. We're all in this race against time, and the only way to truly succeed is to focus on what matters: faith, good deeds, truth, and patience.
You've captured the essence beautifully, and if we consider, as Farahi suggested, that Al-Asr itself acts as a witness to human history, the implications become even more profound throughout time. Countless individuals and civilizations have risen and fallen, striving for success in various ways, but ultimately only those who adhered to those four principles, faith, good deeds, truth, and patience, achieved lasting success.
It makes you reflect on your own life, doesn't it? If time itself is a witness, what story is my life telling? How am I using this precious time I've been given?
These are profound questions we must each grapple with, and there's one more fascinating detail about this surah that I want to share. The root letters that spell Al-Az and Sinra are actually found woven throughout the very verse that outlines the conditions for salvation. It's as if time itself is spelling out the path to success.
That's incredible. The root letters of time are repeated within the conditions for salvation. That's a level of linguistic detail I never would notice, like a hidden message within the message.
It's these subtle, interwoven details that add yet another layer of depth and meaning to the Qur'an, inviting us to explore and discover its riches.
This deep dive has been truly eye-opening. We've learned that divine oaths are so much more than just dramatic flourishes. They function as signs, symbols, historical markers, and even evidence, adding layers of meaning and impact to the Qur'an's message.
It's been a pleasure exploring these oaths with you. And remember, the Qur'an is meant to be pondered and reflected upon, its wisdom unfolding over time.
Absolutely. And if you're enjoying these deep dives into fascinating topics, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future episodes. And to our listeners, if time itself is a witness, what story is your life telling? What legacy are you building? Take some time to contemplate that. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.